Hello, ladies and gentlemen. How y'all doing? I haven't been on here and done this in a minute. I wanted to bring up an important point, though. And this is an important point that I normally bring up uh, every year, right around this time of year. This time of year is when a lot of us are awestruck. The year is almost over. We look back at the past year, and usually what we typically do is we look at all the bad things, or we look at our regrets, what we should have done. And then we think to ourselves, all right, when the new year comes, that's going to be my year. It's going to be a chance to start over and start new and start fresh. I used to do this. I used to do this all the time. And for some reason, it never really worked out for me. I would look back at the previous year and I would be like, damn, I am in the same spot now that I was in the year before that, and the year before that, and the year before that. When is a new year going to bring a new me? And I would get upset and I would get real disappointed and ashamed of myself. So, what we have to do is we have to say, okay, I'm not going to wait for the new year to bring me a new life. I have to become a new person now, not New Year's Eve, not January 1st, right now. Okay. Now that sounds kind of like a daunting task. And I mean, I guess it can be if you like go into it overwhelming yourself and putting yourself through too much and expecting too much of yourself. But one of the things that really, really, really changed my view on everything is when I learned that we humans have the ability to change our own brain chemistry with thought alone. You believe that? I was like, what? We're pretty much programmed and taught that who you are is who you are. You're a victim of your own brain. If you have depression, you have this disease in your brain that cannot be cured, cannot be fixed. That's what we're taught. So I am who I am. If I experienced something traumatic as a child and that screws me up in the head, there's nothing I can do about it. That's just me. That's just who I am. And then I was introduced to the idea that that is not true at all. You mean I can change my own brain with nothing but the power of thought alone? Are you serious? Okay, well, I'm going to give this a try then. I'm going to give this an honest try. I'm one of those types of people, especially on the internet, like especially, that I don't really like to enter into a debate about anything unless I have experienced both sides of the argument. You know, that's one of the things that gets on my nerves to no end is when people debate something and you have no experience with the other side of the argument. You don't even know what you're talking about. You just have an opinion. I mean, we're all humans, but I try to make it a really strong point not to be like that. So I don't want to say that's just bullshit. Let me test it out. Let me find out. Let me see. So that's what I started doing. And some of you who have followed me for a while have heard me tell the story a million times, but this is for the new faces. My whole life, all I ever said to myself about myself was, I'm just an idiot. I'm not good enough. I'm worthless. And I would say this to myself all day, every day. And little did I know at the time that the universe has no choice but to provide you with evidence that supports whatever it is that you believe. So I started hearing all this stuff about mantras and all these different things that you could do. So I was like, all right, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to force myself to believe that I am successful, you know? And every time I would say that to myself, it didn't feel right, dude. It felt weird, felt icky, strange, you know, because at the time, um, I remember I worked all day, every day at this duty rundown car wash up in Maine. And I would say that to myself, I am successful. And it didn't feel right. You know, the program in the back of your mind is going to fight against you. Nah, I'm not successful. Look at me. You know, I got ratty, dirty clothes on. My whole outfit might cost 20 bucks from the Goodwill, you know, and it's my clothes are dirty because I couldn't even afford a washing machine, dude. And I had to wash my clothes in the bathtub by hand with shampoo. That's how I wash my clothes. So, yeah, saying I am successful felt really weird and really strange. And again, I'm not going to go into the whole story. Some of you heard me say this a million times. The point of it is I started telling myself I am successful over and over and over and over. I'm going to make it a point to tell myself this for the rest of my life. Just period. End of discussion. I'm just going to tell myself this for the rest of my life. And then I remember about 8 months later, I'm in the middle of work. I'm scrubbing a car, you know, and I stopped in the middle of what I was doing and I went, whoa. That thought, I am successful, has been running underneath of my conscious awareness all day. And I haven't even thought about it. Come to think about it, that thought has been running underneath my conscious awareness all week. I forgot about it. And now that I think about it, I really think that I can taste it. It's right around the corner. You know, it's right around the corner. It's coming. I know. I believe it. For the first time in my life, I believe that it's possible. You know, I'm gonna tell you what. The operating system that governs any habit you have is the same operating system that governs your thoughts. hmm You know that thing that you just say to yourself every day, or that knee jerk emotional reaction you get whenever somebody cuts you off in traffic? You know, that runs on the same operating system as the operating system that governs your morning routine. You know, when you wake up in the morning, wake up at the same time. Shit, sometimes your brain wakes you up 5 minutes before the alarm goes off, you know, and you get up, roll out of bed the same way, go to the bathroom the same way, go, you know, make coffee and, you know, sit down and play with your phone in the same spot. And, you know, you just, that right there, that operating system that governs that is the same operating system that governs what this thing is thinking. hmm So, just like how you are able to form or break any physical habit like smoking or whatever, driving fast, anything, you have the ability to change these thoughts. Like, I literally will rewrite my own brain just by thinking the same thing over and over and over and over. I'm going to try it. And that's what I started doing. That is when my life began to transform. I didn't make none of this up. I didn't make any of this up. I was just sitting in the same spot that a lot of you were sitting in. You know, I know not everybody, but I guarantee you there's some people who are, you feel like you're lost, waiting to catch a break, waiting for things to improve, just been spinning around in the same circle for the past 5 years, 10 years. And that's where I was at. And I did the same thing you're doing. I went to the internet and I listened to motivational speakers, spiritual influencers, you know, and all this stuff. And I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to figure out how all this works. And if I ever end up in a position where I can help people understand it, I'm going to explain it in a way that is so easy to understand that the only way that you won't understand it is if you blatantly reject it, which you have the right to do. And I'm making a point here too. You have the right to. There are some people who don't want this to be true. Thank you, Chelsea, for that super chat. Appreciate you. There's people out there who don't want this to be true because that means if I have the ability to change the way that I think, if I have the ability to change who I am as a person, and if I have the ability to create whatever future I want, that means I got to take responsibility. That means I got to take responsibility for all the bad shit that I've been through. That's what that means. That's what that means, you know? Yes, you are creating your reality. I heard an amazing analogy the other day where somebody said, um, people say, oh, well, I didn't know I created that. It doesn't mean you're not creating it. If you are in court in front of a judge and you say, well, I didn't know I was breaking the law, doesn't matter. You still broke the law. You're still getting in trouble. That's a beautiful analogy. It's the same thing. It's like, well, I didn't know that I was creating all that bullshit that I went through. Doesn't matter. You still created it. And to me though, actually, when I heard that not only did I create all the bad experiences, but I have the power to uncreate that and create something new, I was delighted, dude. I was like, oh man, you mean this is in my control? You mean I can actually do something? I was delighted. Dude, I was jumping for joy when I learned that. Some people don't jump for joy. Some people desperately need to be victims, And I mean, if that's the way you think, then I don't think you should be listening to me because I don't have anything to tell you that is going to help you at all. Because what we have to do is we have to start right now. What is it that I am wanting to change in my life? What is it? What is it? Whatever it is, I got to get to work in here, first of all, believing that it's possible. I got to get to work. The universe has no choice but to keep handing you evidence that supports whatever you believe. And as Dr. Joe Dispenza says, and a belief is nothing but a thought that you think over and over and over until it burns itself into your subconscious mind. So if I have the ability to change what I believe, and the universe has no choice but to give me evidence that supports what I believe, then why would I tell it? Why would I tell my subconscious mind things that don't line up with what it is that I'm wanting? We're under the illusion that this outside world just happens to you and then you react to it. That's the illusion. And that once something in the outside world changes, then I'll feel better. And in actuality, it's very different. It's very different from that. That's not the way it works at all. Our outside world is a reflection of our current frequency and emotional state. So we got to get to work changing that. Now, what does it mean to change frequencies? I want to be able to explain it in easy to understand terms. Basically, I guess the most efficient way that I can think to explain it is your frequency. Picture yourself as a radio. Okay. You're a radio. There is so much information going on around you, but you're only tuned in to one frequency, and that is the frequency that is your life experience and everything in it. Okay. The house you live in, the car you drive, the money you make, the connections that you share with your friends and your family, everything that makes up your personal reality is like you being tuned in to a radio station. You're tuned into 102.3. Okay. Well, if I'm sitting in my car and my radio is tuned to 102.3 top country hits, and I don't like country music, it don't matter how long I sit there and wait. That's what the radio's tuned into. That's what I'm going to keep experiencing is country music over and over and over and over. So what I have to do is I have to change what this thing is tuned into. There is a part of you. Now, this is the most important part of the whole point here. There is a part of you that you're unaware of that is constantly scanning your surroundings, constantly. And it is looking for things that align with what you keep telling it. For example, imagine me and you are at a house party, okay? We're at a house party. We're talking back and forth like this. We're in the middle of a conversation. There's 20 other conversations going on around us, and there's music thumping. Okay. That part of you is constantly scanning your surroundings, but it's sweeping all of that useless information under the rug so that you won't be bombarded with, sensory overload, basically, information overload. And in the middle of our conversation, through the other conversations, through the music thumping on the other side of the room, somebody mentions your name and you hear that. That is the part that we need to focus on. That is the part of you that is aligning you with your life experiences. Okay. Whatever it is you've been telling that, like through years and years and years of repetition, that thing knows to look for your name. So everything that I've been telling this part of me my whole life. Okay, let me put it to you like this. Well, I'll just go ahead and say it. I'm trying to make it simple so that you understand it. Let's just go ahead and break it straight down and tell it how it is. Like, if all you say to yourself all day, every day is, I'm a worthless piece of shit. I'm not good enough. That thing is scanning your surroundings and it's looking for anything and everything that aligns with me being a worthless piece of shit. All right. So as I go through life, that's all I'm tuned into is things that resonate with that. So that's why we have to reverse what we're telling that thing. Once I get my subconscious mind believing that I am successful, that part of me that's scanning my surroundings will sniff that out for me. It will sniff out the evidence that supports that for me. Oh, yes, it will. Now, that's just one little tiny example. But what the point that I'm getting at here is we got to start now. I'm not thinking about, January 1st, 2023. I'm thinking about November 1st, 2023. That's what I'm thinking about. Where am I going to be 1 year from today? And what do I have to start doing now to make sure that I at least get closer to that point? So what I got to start with is this thing. I got to pay close attention to what I'm telling it. I got to monitor what I'm telling this thing. See what I'm saying? And then after a while, I got to quit being lazy and say, all right, it's time to start now. Time to start now. And I got to start controlling my thoughts. I got to start catching myself. Whether it's success that you want or just maybe to feel worthy. How about that? Maybe you feel like you're not good enough. So all day, every day, I am worthy. I am good enough. And it's not going to feel right at first. That's the thing. It'll feel very uncomfortable and very strange and very weird at first. And that's normal. It's normal. You have to make this your new norm. This has to be your new comfort zone. I learned about comfort zones when I was homeless. I learned about them then because when I very first found myself homeless, I was devastated, dude. I was so humiliated. I was so embarrassed. I laid down under that bridge. And it really was under a bridge, dude. I laid down on my little couch cushion, looked up at that bridge, heard the cars going, shoo, shoo, and I was so embarrassed. My worst nightmares have come true. Fast forward 3 months. I'm sitting up under that same bridge, drinking a bottle of vodka, and I thought to myself, whoa, I'm becoming comfortable with this. That's bizarre. Just 3 months ago, I was so uncomfortable. Now, this is becoming my new norm. This feels normal to me now, to be living in a society where your clout, the clout you have is determined by how big your tent is in the woods, for real, for real. That's what gives you clout on the streets is whether or not you have a big enough tent, or something like that. And I'm like, this is becoming normal to me. If I can become comfortable doing this, I can become comfortable doing anything, because your comfort zone is only as big as you make it. You step outside your comfort zone and you put your foot down and make it a point to stay there. your comfort zone will expand to fit you back in it. You have to be willing to be uncomfortable for the rest of your life. That's what you have to be willing to do. That doesn't mean you're going to be uncomfortable for the rest of your life, but you have to be willing to. You have to be willing to tell yourself, all right, you know what? This is scary. It's weird. It's uncomfortable. So I guess I'm going to feel weird and uncomfortable for the rest of my life then. If you have that mentality, nothing is stopping you from reaching the top of the mountain. Nothing. Nothing can stand in your way. Nothing. Nothing. It doesn't mean nothing bad can happen to you. It's not what that means. Oh, at all. Bad things still happen. Life still happens. We're never going to escape that, at least, not in this density. But if something bad happens, I know how to fix it. I'm not worried. Does that make sense? So we got to start now. Not December 31st, not January 1st. The life that I want is going to require me to be a different version of myself. So I have to start being that person. And it's going to feel uncomfortable until my brain rewrites itself. Until my brain rewrites itself, it's going to be uncomfortable and it's going to feel weird. So are you willing to be uncomfortable all year next year? Are you willing to do that? Are you willing? Because if you're willing and you do it, dude, I'm telling you, nothing is stopping you. Nothing. So we got to start doing that now. And again, like I said in the beginning, it can be a daunting task. Like if you overload yourself, start with one little thing. Say you're not where you want to be financially. Okay. So what is it that I'm really wanting? I'm really wanting to not need to worry about money. That's what I'm wanting. Okay. Well, you got to stop worrying about money now. You don't get the money first and then stop worrying about it. You have to stop worrying about money now. You have to train your brain to think differently. Every time you catch yourself at the grocery store, like, oh my God, should I get this bread or get that bread? Because it's $1 cheaper. Whoa. I'm just going to get some bread. I'm going to get whatever one I want. I'm just going to get some bread. I don't care. Fuck that price tag. I don't care what it says. I'm just going to grab me some bread. And you retrain your brain because the money that you make is a reflection of how you feel about money. No amount of money will ever be a solution to how you feel about money. And if you need proof, you're on YouTube right now, go look at all these people that win the lottery and end up bankrupt in 5 years. They slipped into that zero gravity state at the right perfect moment and attracted $100 million, but they never reprogrammed their frequency to keep producing and attracting money. They accidentally busted open the floodgate real quick, but they didn't reprogram the frequency. So what do? They take all that money and they manifest reasons to worry about money that you can't even comprehend. Yep. So what am I going to do? What is it that I'm really wanting? I'm wanting to not need to worry about money. So I got to stop worrying about it now first. I got to stop doing that first. Okay. So work on that. Whatever it is that you're wanting. Again, maybe it's just to feel worthy. Start telling myself that I am worthy. I am good enough. And it's going to feel weird, but you have to say it over and over and over and over and over. After a certain point, that program will begin to rewrite itself and you will begin to believe that you are worthy and that you are good enough. And then if you are stubborn and tenacious enough to do this for days and weeks and months and months and months and months and months on end, to the point to where it does rewrite your brain, I can't say that nothing ever requires work and effort, but seemingly it'll seem like your life is just changing for you. Everything will begin to transform. It's you doing it, but that's the way it looks. It's like, oh my God, that's all I had to do. That's all I had to do was start changing who I am, start changing the way that I think, start changing the way that this thing works. And all this out here begins to change. Yep. Yep. So how about this in November? Identify that one little thing. One little thing. Don't care what it is. If you just want to feel worthy, if you want to feel self-love, or if you want to attract money, and finances, or if you want whatever it is that you want, get to the root of the actual problem. See, humans are weird, man. Have you ever noticed if you go pick any random person out of a crowd and you ask them what the solution to all of their problems would be, what would they tell you? To obtain more of whatever it is that they're currently lacking, right? We always think that our problems will be solved by acquiring more of whatever it is that we're lacking. Have you ever noticed that? Have you noticed that? Broke people think that their problem is lack of money. Lonely people think that their problem is nobody loves them. We always think that whatever it is I don't have, that's the problem. And to have said thing would be the solution to my problems. And that's not the way that it works. That's not the way that it works. Whatever that is that you are lacking, that is a reflection of how you feel inside on a vibrational level. Vibrational. Okay. We can't let it filter through our conscious thoughts and conscious awareness and because that just projects the illusion right back to us that my problem is I don't make enough money. My problems would be solved if I made more money. Or my problem is nobody loves me. And all my problems will disappear as soon as the right person comes and loves me. No, that's not what it is. That's not the void. We have to identify the void. And that can be hard. It can be tricky. I'm not trying to make this sound easy, by the way. There are lots of people, especially on the internet, who, lead you to believe that this shit's easy. It's not easy. It's not easy. Oh, no, it's not supposed to be. That's the whole point of coming and playing the human game. It's supposed to be challenging and difficult. But we have to identify the void and work to start filling it ourselves. Okay. And then that void being filled in here will manifest out here. It has to happen in here first. And then it manifests out here. You all see, man, I've just been seeing like there's this big argument, you know what I mean? That's like swooping the internet. And it's mainly about women, like men and women and the differences and whatnot. And a lot of people are saying like there's two sides of an argument. These people over here are saying, no, ladies, you need to go just be single, be independent, be a boss bitch. You don't need no man. Go focus on your career and you go chase that money. And then the people on this side are saying, no. You need to get married. You're never going to be happy unless you get married. And I think, that causes a lot of confusion. It causes a lot of confusion because I'm not saying don't be independent. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm also saying don't expect a relationship to create your happiness for you. See, this is where the disconnect happens. Because I personally feel like both sides of that argument are wrong. Okay? We're looking for true happiness is what we're looking for. Okay? True happiness will not be created by a career, money, or a relationship. Our problem is, it doesn't matter who you are. I'm just brought that up because I've been hearing a lot about that over the past few days, but it doesn't matter who you are. Happiness comes from you, not to you. And it's a tricky thing to figure out. Very tricky. I never felt true happiness for the first time until I was in my 30s. Until I hit my 30s, I had no idea what true happiness was. I was under that same illusion, the same illusion that was like, you know what? I'm not going to be happy until I make a certain amount of money. I'm not going to be happy until I get in the perfect relationship. I was under that illusion too. And I didn't learn how to find actual true happiness. I learned how to fill those voids. Okay. Filling the void is one thing, but then actually finding happiness is totally different. It's weird. It's like being in a dark room, feeling around for a light switch, and most people don't even get up and look for the light switch. They just sit there and wait for some lover to come flip the light switch on, or they're waiting for the right paycheck, to flip the light switch on or something like that. They don't. They just sit in the dark. But you get in there, you start feeling, it's like, man, where's this switch at? Where's it at? Where is it? And when you find it, dude, I'm talking about to be happy for no particular reason. No particular reason. That's where true happiness, you got to flip that switch and you're like, man, I'm feeling good. I am feeling good. I don't care, what's going on outside of me. I don't care. I'm feeling good. This is what we need to try to find and figure out how to do. All the other stuff, that stuff will come along with it. I had to learn all that stuff the hard way, dude. I didn't make none of that up. And you know what? I didn't even believe it. I didn't even believe it back when I first, money doesn't buy happiness. I thought that was bullshit. I didn't believe in that. I didn't believe it. I was like, oh, whatever. That's just something rich people say to try to make themselves sound humble, or that's just something broke people say to justify being broke. Give me some money and watch how happy it makes me. I thought that. And then I had to learn real quick. No, money does not create happiness, just same thing with love and relationships. I'll finally be happy once the right person comes along. Well, guess what? My person is in my life, and that doesn't create my happiness for me. It doesn't. So if I wake up one day and somehow the light switch got flipped off and I'm unhappy, it doesn't matter how much money's coming in. Doesn't matter, how much my wife loves me. Doesn't matter how big my house is or how fast my car is. None of that matters. I got to go inside and figure out how to flip that switch myself, or I'm not going to be a happy person, period. So this is what we need to work on starting now in November. That's why I titled this video, No Shame, No November. This is what we need to work on now. Identify one little void, one little something, and get to work on that first. And then once you start seeing the results, this is the thing. Because at first, when you first, start doing this, it's like, I don't know, is it true? Does it work? Or am I just wasting my time? I don't even know. But if you stick with it long enough to start seeing results, if you tell yourself, I am worthy, I am good enough, every single day for 6 months, to the point to where you start believing it, and then you see the results, you see people treating you differently, you see people respecting you more, you see people taking you more seriously, you see that reflection being mirrored back to you in the outside world with what you've just changed in here. It gets addictive at that point. It gets addictive, dude. It gets addictive. It's like, oh, sweet. What can I change next? Anyway, we got to start now, though. Anyway, though, I'm going to go ahead and hop out of here. I appreciate y'all for tuning in and listening to me blab and run my mouth. I just haven't been on here in a while. So, talking and chatting with motivational stuff, usually I'm just flipping the cards and running my mouth, but I just wanted to give you all some motivation. So my goal is to actually see you change your life. That's my goal. I want to be able to hear you say, I transformed my life. It worked, Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Thank you all for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your day.